not just a Pokemon that he puts on Team Preview, he actually actively uses it. I've seen him.
Right, I mean, he's called it like his MVP. Like, it is so good with this team. And one of the reasons it's really, really good is because, of course, it beats Incineroar. Incineroar is one of the Pokemon that is on Melvin's team as we quickly take a look at what he is running. That Incineroar does, of course, get countered by Mega Medicham, being able to just knock out with a high jump kick, even through Intimidate, and Melvin's accomplishments are so impressive.
Yep, top 4 at the European International Championships just recently. Earlier on in the season during the Sun Series, top cut the Latin American International Championships, as well as coming off a World's top 16 finish. He also top cut the North American International Championships last year as well, piloting the team of Primal Groudon, Xerneas, Salamence, Incineroar, Tapu Fini, and Shedinja. As both players now get ready to jump into Team Preview, give it up for both of these players right now. I am so excited to see these two players face off for the 3rd time, again, this tournament. Again, Graham with that Mega Medicham, and of course that Nihilego and that Lunala. So one thing that Graham's really going to want to do is set up a Tailwind.
Tailwind, absolutely essential. I mean, I feel like both restricted Pokemons are just super, super good here. So you'd imagine you'd want to bring both the Kyogre, Lunala, and of course the Xerneas and the Groudon. Then it's a real question of speed control. I mean, I don't know if Melvin's brought Shedinja in the previous games, but if you are able to soak it, then the only way to hit it is with an electric type attack from the Tapu Koko and a potential Thunder from Kyogre. So don't know if Melvin's really incorporated Shedinja into his strategy against Graham. It certainly could work, although Graham does have a bunch of ways to hit the Shedinja for super effective damage, you know, with both the Nihilego and the Lunala. So speed is going to definitely be quite important here. We're also going to have to see how the Kyogre and the Groudons match up in terms of speed. That is also going to be pretty crucial. So I think, like you mentioned, setting up Tailwind could be really crucial here for Graham if he's able to outpace, especially getting Kyogre out against Melvin's team, which is pretty weak to Water-type Pokemon overall. You can get some really, really good hits off, especially against Groudon.
Yep, and Graham has already selected his team. Melvin taking a little bit more time to select his team, really trying to think out all the possible options. You know, it's also a mind game for Melvin. He may have won the first 2 matches, but now Melvin has to think himself, you know, I've revealed a lot more information than I normally would have about my team. Is Graham going to be able to adjust here as both players now getting ready to send out their leads? Give it up again for both of these players. Give it up for Graham. Give it up for Melvin. Here we go now. The last match of the top 8 here at the 2019 Pokemon North American International Championships as both players now get underway. Aaron, are you excited, man? Do you feel this?
I want to see Medicham. I want to see Shedinja. Unfortunately, not yet. But there's still a chance.
So Lunala and Tapu Lele are the leads of choice.
Oh, yes!
Shedinja and Groudon are the leads of choice for Melvin. So there it is, the Shedinja.
It's out immediately, and how exciting to see it. Of course, Shedinja, yes, you can use it for the soak strategy, but it also gets access to just a lot of powerful attacks and annoying attacks. So Ally Switch is a really, really big one here, right? Now, don't know exactly what set this Tapu Lele is, but if it is, for example, a Choice Scarf variant, might carry something like a Shadow Ball. So, you know, Graham actually does have a way to maybe just double up into Shedinja to knock it out immediately. But of course, Shedinja could go for a Protect, could go for an Ally Switch, and that would allow for Groudon to get a really, really big Precipice Blades off here. So there's some mind games immediately on the first turn. It really comes down to, does Shedinja go for the Ally Switch, and what does Graham do? What kind of set is this Tapu Lele? I think Graham probably wants to double up into something. Here's an Ally Switch.
All right. Shedinja going to go ahead and switch spots with that Groudon, trying to give Groudon some sort of immunity. Tapu Lele uses the Magic Room, though. Where is Lunala going to go with an attack? Because that Focus Sash on Shedinja is no longer in effect, and it looks like it is going to be a Z move right here, right off the bat. It's going to be a menacing Moonraze Maelstrom here from the Lunala. I mean, it's either going to do big damage on that ground or get the KO on Shedinja, but, I mean, wasting a Z move to do 1 hit point of damage.
Yeah, I mean, this covers all of Graham's options, to be honest. It'll look a little bit silly if it goes into Shedinja, but it's still for the better, right? The Magic Room cancels the Focus Sash. That actually goes into Groudon!
Big damage here!
Wow, I mean, that's great. It wasn't like a incredible or insane prediction by Graham, right? What he's going for there is the Z move will knock you out even if you protect, because your Focus Sash no longer will be an attack. So that covers every option, covers the Ally Switch option, and a really clever play, you know. How much does that
big
do?
Damage and Groudon barely hangs on with just a sliver of health here as Groudon gets to go for a big Precipice Blades, connects on both Lunala and that Tapu Lele. Big damage right there, but of course that Shadow Shield allows Lunala to take it very well. Tapu Lele barely hangs on. Of course, Shedinja does have access to Shadow Sink, but that is blocked by that Psychic Terrain.
Yeah, exactly. Wow, I mean, that was a great play on Graham's end. It covered every option. If Shedinja protects there, the Magic Room means that you are able to just knock it out through the Protect. If the Ally Switch occurs, then you see exactly what happens. So Graham really content with any outcome from there. The Tapu Lele reveals that it is the Choice Scarf variant with Magic Room, but because of Magic Room, now it can lock into any attack. With the Magic Room, it also means that you're able to knock out Shedinja with any super effective attack, so Graham has a relatively safe play here of just targeting one slot with one attack and the other slot with another. You don't have to double up into something right now, which is the normal thing you feel like you need to do against Shedinja.
Yeah, so here we go now, coming into turn 2, and wow, Graham has really set himself up to be advantageous here. Of course, you might want to try to position your moves correctly still just in case to cover for the switches, but it looks like Lunala is actually just going to switch out on Graham's side, and Nihiligo is going to take the field here, which could be potentially dangerous if Graham doesn't cover up. Oh, you got to respect that, though. Remember, the Psychic Terrain is in effect, and here comes Tapu Lele going for a Shadow Ball straight into that Shedinja, thanks again to that Magic Room preventing that Focus Sash from taking effect. But here comes a possible Groudon. Precipice Blades here does connect with both Pokemon, hits into that Tapu Lele, gets KO, and that should be a KO on Nihiligo as well. So interesting switch right there from Graham.
Yeah, a little bit surprised to see that. I feel like he gave up a lot of pressure after what was such a good turn 1 and targeting the Shedinja. Also, Shadow Ball being revealed, so that's actually really important and will dictate the remainder of this match. Probably just not wanting to take any damage with Lunala, but I believe Lunala is grounded, so shouldn't take Shadow Sneak damage.
It is grounded.
Yeah, so kind of surprised to see that. Feels like Graham had a pretty safe opportunity. Maybe he was just expecting
Tapu Koko to switch in.
Right. That is quite a good point. And I mean, the thing is, because of Shadow Shield, Shadow Shield is no longer in effect, so yeah, probably fearing the Tapu Koko switch in it and the Shadow Sneak, but Melvin gets a huge Precipice Blades off here. I mean, this is still not over by any means, but the problem is, with 2 Pokemon down on Graham's end, you can just win the Weather War now with Groudon by switching out and back in, and there's no Tailwind on Graham's end. There has been no... the Z-move has already been committed. The upside is, however, because of the Magic Room, Xerneas can't Geomancy. And so Kyogre here should be able to get a really, really powerful Water-type attack off. It's just, how do you beat this Groudon in the late game? That being said, actually, Groudon being so low means that...
Ice Beam will just KO it anyway.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So, and Shedinja out the way means you don't have to worry about any potential shenanigans, right? So, it feels like it will come down really to what Melvin's last Pokemon is. I mean, if it's Salamence, then at least you put on pressure with Hyper Voice or Double Edge. If it's something like Incineroar, Kyogre will really just be able to destroy it. So even though that last turn Graham did lose both Pokemon, he's still actually not in that bad of a position, especially because the Weather War isn't as hard to win now that Groudon is so low because of that first turn.
Yeah, and Ice Beams will still be doing some pretty decent damage. These are the 2 Pokemon that Graham actually probably wants on the field to deal with the rest of Melvin's team. They are his 2 strongest Pokemon here, as Tapu Fini is going to go ahead and take the field here. Going to go ahead and change the terrain, going to weaken the amount of damage that, Lunala can throw down on that Xerneas with a possible Psychic or Psyshock as the mist swirls around the battlefield here, as Lunala just going to go for a Moongeist Beam, going to go ahead and just dish out some damage here, not going to be boosted by anything at all, and hits in that Tapu Fini slot, doing about 40%, as Kyogre goes for a Water Spout here, going to do some big damage as well. Full powered, boosted by the rain. Huge damage on that Tapu Fini and that Xerneas, so Xerneas now can retaliate with a Moonblast, boosted by that Fairy Aura. Going to go ahead and hit into that Lunala slot. Still going to do some decent damage, but Lunala hangs on. Yeah,
most importantly, the Kyogre is faster than the Xerneas here as well. It's a really big piece of information, and that makes Graham's endgame a little bit easier. Magic Room is still in effect, so Tapu Fini, which typically carries the berry, won't be able to eat it up, and so that's a really big deal. Especially with Kyogre and Lunala being the 2 fastest Pokemon on the field, a Moongeist Beam should be able to knock out both right now. So for Graham, maybe Kyogre hasn't taken any damage, so you can just go for a Moongeist Beam into the Tapu Fini slot and a Water Spout into Xerneas. I don't really see too many ways around that. Yeah, Xerneas can protect, but I feel like that covers every option because it covers the Groudon switching option as well.
And Lunala now using Moongeist Beam here, landing into that Tapu Fini slot. That should be enough for the KO. So Groudon on Melvin's side is going to go ahead and take the field. But of course, this Kyogre and this Lunala are putting so much pressure down over on Melvin's side of the field here, as Kyogre goes for an Ice Beam, hits into that Xerneas slot. Smart play right there from Graham just to cover the bases of a possible Groudon switch, but obviously it was probably going to get knocked out anyways unless it switched in that slot. So here comes Groudon over on Melvin's side, and it looks like Graham has all the pieces right here to just seal the deal.
Yeah, I mean, Melvin had no out here, honestly. Graham really pivoted himself into a great position. That Magic Room was absolutely essential in this game.
So clutch.
Normally we've seen it used just to really stop the Xerneases, but look at how much it allowed Graham to do in this game. And this game should end now, of course. This is actually not over yet, actually, because the Groudon, of course, could protect. But I mean, I think you just go for the Moon Guy's Beam into Xerneas and Ice Beam Groudon. So I don't really see how Melvin has an out here. Lunala should be faster. Groudon does go for the protect. I think you're pretty much hoping that Graham, for some reason, click Moon Guy's Beam into Groudon.
Yeah, and Lunala goes for a Moon Guy's Beam here.
Nice.
It is going to connect into that Xerneas, and that should get the KO from this range here. And next turn, Kyogre should be able to clean up. But again, as you're saying, Aaron, that Magic Room, so clutch.
Much, right?
The Focus Sash on Shedinja got deactivated.
Yep.
And
the Power Up on Xerneas, a potential Berry on Tapu Fini. I mean, that's 3 out of the 4 items that were brought into this game, and it finally wears off. But wow, that was such a good lead and such a good turn 1 play from Graham's end. I mean, like, it was obviously so hyped that it went into the Groudon, which had ally switched, but I love what Graham did there because even with the Choice Scarf, it's not like he needed to commit to like a Shadow Ball and a Moon Guy's Beam. Instead, going for the Magic Room also re-allows Tapu Lele to go for any attack. So even though Graham did give up 2 Pokemon that 1 turn, he was confident enough because he had done all that damage to Groudon already, and Shedinja was out the way, and he knew that he probably knew that the Kyogre was faster than the Xerneas as well because they played so many times. That's such a big key information. So yeah. Really, really impressive play from Graham, and I mean, he's 1 game away from beating the guys who's already defeated him.
Aaron, do you believe in the likelihoods?
I believe
this is a possibility right here.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, no Medicham, unfortunately, but I think Graham really did bring the best Pokemon in this matchup. I mean, Medicham also really can't touch the Shedinja before or after the soak, so not exactly the best option here.
Here we go now, jumping right back into team preview between Graham and Melvin. Again, I mean, Melvin and Graham both know each other's teams so well. They've already faced off 2 sets in this tournament, and here they are in the top cut. I mean, I joked about this with Scott backstage about how this could be a possibility, and, you know, sometimes 3rd time's a charm.
Yeah, really.
And here we are.
Yeah, it really can be. I mean, kind of thinking of what adjustments Melvin wants to make here. I think Shedinja just doesn't have a clear-cut path, right? Because even if you're ally switching, like Graham figured out a way to get around the ally switch, which was really clever. So, I mean, maybe leading something like Tapu Fini, which will at least slow down the Tapu Lele and the Lunala a little bit. Especially if you lead like Incinerate or Tapu Fini, then you pressure the Lunala with a Dark type attack. You can also fake out because the Misty Terrain will go up first. But here we go, game 2. Let's see how Melvin adjusts.
Both players are locked in. Both players now getting ready to jump into game 2. Melvin trying to force a game 3 here, and Graham trying to finally be able to defeat Melvin in this tournament and also move on to the top 4 with a win here. Here we go, Aaron.
I'm so excited.
Oh, man, what's going to happen here? It's going to be Tapu Fini and Groudon leads for Melvin, so no Shedinja just yet. You know, we saw how ineffective Shedinja was in the previous game as Lunala and Tapu Lele are the leads for Graham here. So now it looks like the Misty Terrain is going to be the one that activates, as Groudon will also revert primally now.
Yeah, Tapu Fini definitely a great lead choice here, and that's kind of one that I was talking about earlier because now you have terrain control. Groudon is still so good, right? Precipice Blades do so much damage to both of these Pokemon, so now Melvin has a little bit more offensive pressure, and Tapu Fini being a defensive Pokemon can spam something like an Icy Wind. So this first turn, Melvin has a bunch of options, right? You could protect the Groudon and just go for an Icy Wind. You could even just launch a Precipice Blades off. Of course, one of the downsides of going for a Precipice Blades immediately is if Lunala decides to go for the Z move and Tapu Lele decides to double up into that slot. So safest play on Melvin's end, of course, is to just protect the Groudon, go for an Icy Wind, which almost every Tapu Fini has.
No
protect, and it's a Magic Room coming out.
Magic Room for Graham's side of the field came in so clutch last game, probably expecting it to do the same here, as it looks like it's going to be another menacing Moonraze Maelstrom here. Either big damage on that Tapu Fini or big damage on that Groudon, but of course Groudon will be able to survive and retaliate with its own Precipice Blade, so here we go. Some big damage going to be dealt onto the field.
Yeah, I mean, either way, like you said, Groudon will be taking a ton, and if it's into Tapu Fini, we'll see how much he does. I wouldn't expect it to knock out, but maybe what Graham was going for was, I get rid of your berry, you're going to be protecting the Groudon a lot of the times here, so Melvin not protecting ends up being a really, really excellent call. I mean, this is going to do a lot of damage to Tapu Fini, and the Magic Room means that it won't be able to heal up if it has its berry. Let's see if it's able to get the knockout. I don't expect it to, but we'll see.
Still, big damage dealt out onto that Tapu Fini, and Tapu Fini hangs on very well. Don't even think that would have activated the berry at this point, as Tapu Fini now going for it. Madness connects onto that Lunala, gonna go ahead and break that Shadow Shield and leave it vulnerable to a possible Precipice Blades KO. It connects with both Pokemon. Tapu Lele should be able to hang on again with just a sliver of hit points as Lunala actually gets KO'd.
Yeah, really nice turn 1 play there from Melvin. I mean, he really faced the potential double up into Groudon, but I think most of the players aren't just going to use and commit their Z move turn 1, especially when Protect is an option. Nature's Madness, a really strong option there as well for Melvin. Still not at the end of the world though, right? Like Graham gets to bring in the Kyogre. We know this Kyogre is actually even faster than the Xerneas, and with Groudon being out right now, you are free to really just click something like Water Spout. The question is, what does Graham want to do with his Tapu Lele? You're free to stay in, but maybe you want to pivot out. We saw the Nio Ego earlier. Nio Ego this could be a free opportunity to basically click Water Spout and switch out into Nio Ego because you know you'll be faster with the Kyogre.
Yeah, and you'll be able to preserve that Tapu Lele for later on.
Exactly.
Maybe if the Magic Room actually expires, you'll actually get that speed advantage back with that Tapu Lele with that Choice Scarf as well. So depending on how Graham plays it, he might be able to salvage that Tapu Lele's Choice Scarf for later on. So yeah, pretty safe right now to just click Water Spout, as you mentioned, Aaron.
Yeah, and then you have two options with Tapu Lele. If you're not confident Water Spout's going to knock out Tapu Fini and you're worried about something like an Icy Wind, then maybe you just attack it. Melvin here opts not to switching Groudon, basically giving him a free switch in after the Tapu Fini goes down.
Yeah, and Kyogre now uses Water Spout. Tapu Lele stays in as well. How much damage is this going to do to the Tapu Lele, or sorry, the Tapu Fini here, as it is actually enough to get the KO, so Tapu Lele now will be able to just go for an attack straight into that Groudon Protect. So free switch right here from Melvin. He still has two Pokemon hiding in the back. So now, what is Melvin going to do?
Yeah, it's a tricky position though because Groudon is still facing down a Kyogre, which means it's more or less forced to switch out this next turn unless you bring in something like an either KO the Kyogre, which really isn't much, or you bring out the Incineroar, which can fake out.
Oh, Shedinja comes out
though.
So now it's going to come down to the mind games. You know, ally switch is a thing, so
yeah, but it can't block the Water Spout, right? So I mean, Kyogre here can still freely click Water Spout. But
Graham has to chase down that Shedinja correctly, though, with that Shadow Ball on the Tapu Lele side.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
it's tough. It's tough.
I also really have to wonder what the last Pokemon is. I mean, yeah, I didn't really expect to see Shedinja come out here, but Melvin is forced to switch out the Groudon, but you can just freely double up into that Groudon slot with something like a Water Spout and a Shadow Ball.
And also just Shadow Sneak to KO that Tapu Lele as well.
That is very true, yes.
Here comes Xerneas as Shedinja uses Shadow Sneak, finally connects because the terrain is the correct terrain. Gets the KO on that Tapu Lele, but this opens up Kyogre for a very powerful rain-boosted Water Spout here. Wonder Guard going to go ahead and make it not matter at all. And here comes the Water Spout hitting into that Xerneas, does so much damage right there. Of course, next turn you have to respect that Groudon switch, as Graham is forced now to switch in his last Pokemon.
Yeah, oh man. I mean, so Graham did have the option, of course, to switch out the Tapu Lele, but trying to cover all his options, saying, okay, if you go for anything but a Shadow Sneak, then I'll be able to break your potential Focus Sash, or maybe just have knocked out the Xerneas. So the problem here is that Melvin should be able to win the Weather War, but Graham actually, I believe, has trick up his sleeve that we've seen on stream with the roleplay on the Nio Ego. So that's a way to counteract the Groudon switching in. So it's not like Melvin's just 100% won the Weather War. With Kyogre being faster than the Xerneas, and Ice Beam actually might just be able to knock it out as well.
And Shedinja now using Protect here. Not going to want to possibly take a Rock-type attack from that Nihilego, as Nihilego does follow into the Power Gem, but goes for the Xerneas instead. Gets the KO.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty safe play, right? Shedinja isn't doing very much at this point anyway.
And it gets a Beast Boost. I mean, it's not going to matter too much anyways, though, because, you know, Shedinja's just going to go ahead and instantly get KO'd, so, wow.
Yeah, looks good. The only, I mean, yeah, like the way that Melvin wins that is if you do Ally Switch and Geomancy that turn. Ended up not going for the Ally Switch, and that's one of the tough things of playing with Ally Switch. Your opponent knows you have it. If they make the right prediction, then you're pretty much going to lose here. So Groudon is going to come out. That role play here going to be pivotal for the Kyogre.
Yeah, and here we go now. Groudon does have control of the weather right now, but Graham has one more trick up his sleeve. And Aaron, this might be it. This might be it. This might be Graham finally being able to defeat Melvin here as Shedinja uses Shadow Sneak, hitting Nihilego for a good damage.
There it is.
Role play. Gonna go ahead and copy that Primordial Sea and go ahead and bring the rain, which means that Kyogre can easily just go for a just a Water Spout right here to get the KO onto that Groudon. So big damage going to be dealt right here onto the ground, gets the KO. So now Graham just has to figure out a way to deal with the Shedinja. Not quite out. Ooh, critical hit on that ground, extra damage right there. Shadow Sneak did a lot of damage here. If a critical hit actually occurs, that could be bad. And Magic Room also just expired.
Yeah, actually, this
it's not over yet. Yeah,
it depends on whether the shadows, how many two Shadow Sneaks will do. Because with Magic Room gone, Shedinja actually does have that Focus Sash. So Kyogre can't touch the Shedinja, so it's literally right now a 1v1 between Shedinja and Naoigo. If 2 Shadow Sneaks knock out Naoigo, then
here comes the first Shadow Sneak here. Hits into that Nihilego.
25 down to 71. It's so
close. Be able to hang on here as Nihilego connects on the first Power Gem, goes ahead and activates that Focus Sash. So now Melvin for sure needs a critical hit in order to...
I don't know. I mean,
it's close.
Yeah, it maybe he just needs a high damage roll as well. Like, that's the thing. Oh, my goodness.
How much damage is the Shadow Sneak going to do, Aaron?
Oh, my.
This is going to be tight here.
It all comes down to if
here comes the Shadow Sneak. How much damage does it do?
Oh, my
That's
God.
Oh, my God. Nihilego hangs on. Nihilego uses Power Gem and gets a KO on that Shedinja.
Wow.
Graham Amedee finally defeats Melvin Keh.
Oh, my goodness. 2-0. Such great play there. I mean, the role play being so pivotal. Every move on Graham's team being so big. Wow, and Melvin played great that first turn too, right? He didn't just go for the protect on the Groudon, didn't go for the safe play, ended up getting so much damage off. But the Magic Room just being so good in this game, and Kyogre really being able to navigate itself in a way where it just put on so much pressure with Water Spout. In the end, yeah, Graham just being faster with things like Kyogre against the Groudon and the Xerneas made this matchup, I think, a lot more towards his favor. And Melvin had some opportunities with Shedinja, but I felt like Graham really covered all his bases. Now, of course, in that second game, there was the opportunity to go for the Ally Switch and the Geomancy. I think if Melvin went for that, he probably would have won, but it's so hard to do that when you know your opponent is trying to predict the Ally Switch.
Tough call right there from Melvin, and, you know, it's the mind game of Ally Switch. It goes both ways, right? You know, your opponent knows that you have Ally Switch. Are they going to be expecting it or not? It's all so tough mentally just to be able to do that, especially after you played Graham twice already in Swiss. Crazy match right there. Crazy match right there. And again, you know, Aaron, guess what? Mega Medicham moves on to the top 4.
It does. We didn't get to see it in that last game, but I mean, this fact that we saw like roleplay now, Ego, we saw the Magic Room Tapu Lele. That's pretty common, but it's still very, very neat. And I think that was one of the best demonstrations of Magic Room I've ever seen in this format and in VGC in general. I mean, it shut down so many things, and wow, hey, being able, I think that emphasizes how important items are for the non-restricted Pokemon in this format, right? Like, Tapu Fini becomes so much weaker when it doesn't have its berry because 2 attacks will be able to really seal up the deal, especially if the first one is a Z move from Lunala. Shedinja, if it doesn't have its Focus Sash, it's going to have a pretty rough time.
KO'd. And I want to again mention that brilliant play by Graham in turn 1 of game 1 where he covered all of his bases.
Every option, yeah.
Every option.